Hey, Tom here, FlipAnythingUSA. So this is the real estate happy hour. Okay, not so happy for me right now. I actually just got notices of all my properties, not all my properties, but several of my properties, uh, taxes. They've assessed the values even higher. Okay, and the property values have not gone up this year, but that doesn't stop the tax man from assessing them, making them higher. Got to go fight them. Got to knock them down. I've been fighting them for years. It's gonna, I'll never be able to retire from fighting. I guess it's just kind of how it goes. Um, so look, Tom here, Flip Anything USA. Been buying and selling real estate for many years, and anything you want to talk about real estate, I'm happy to talk. I've owned probably just about every kind of property most of you would be familiar with: apartments, buildings, commercial buildings, industrial, flex spaces, offices. I still own all this kind of stuff, and individual houses, land. There's going to be a lot of great opportunities coming for everything. To be quite honest, there's going to be a lot of people losing their butts big time. And we can talk about reasons why. Also, if anybody wants to call in, call in. You see the number on the screen here. And let me make sure. Oh, I just realized I don't think I started the show. Hang on one second. Let's see. You're going to hear me. I guess you're going to hear me start the show. Let's see. So I'll start the call in. I just realized I didn't have this thing set. But hey, Liam. Hey, Liam. Glad to see you in here. Yeah, free Donald Trump. Yeah. Yeah. I do think there's a real misjustice here. Whether you like, uh, you know, our former president or not, he gets held to a different standard than other politicians, and I think it's pretty pathetic. There's many politicians that should be, look at Hillary Server. You've got Hunter Biden getting $3 million from the mayor of Moscow or his wife. And you've got other people that have, there's all, and listen, that's the problem with most of the politicians is none of them can call each other out because they're all thieves. And, they are. I mean, that's where the money, that's where the corruption begins. People go to Washington with good intentions and they quickly become corrupt because you get to live the life of a billionaire. When you're a congressman and a senator, you really get to live the life of a billionaire. People don't realize. I think these guys get about 100. Last time I looked, I think it was about 125,000 a month. Expense fees. They can buy dinner for everybody every night. They travel. They can go, all kinds of places. They get romanced also, by, the powers that be. When you're in the position to give out money, let me tell you, everybody, you're a rock star to everybody that wants you to give money to them. And think about it, there's very little to lose. You're giving away taxpayers' dollars, you're giving away other people's money. It doesn't affect you. And that's also one of the reasons why this downturn is going to be so horrendous. And it is. We are going to have a terrible downturn, that I'm sure of. And many of us are going to make a lot of money on the downturn. I know I will. And my students will too. By the way, if you just got in here, I've got a book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. It's been a bestseller on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. I urge you to get that. This book is worth more than just about every course out there. I've been doing this for 42 years, and I've got many students in my class that talk about the horrors, stories of the money that they've given to the most popular real estate YouTubers that you are all aware of. And so you got to be careful. You can't trust people. You got to demand experience. You got to demand proof of experience, and that's what people don't do. So Barry, am I streaming on Rumble? No, but thanks to my thanks to everybody that joined my Rumble. I have 10 followers on Rumble now, so now I can actually do live streaming there, and I probably will. But if you guys want to talk about real estate, let me know, and anything in particular on your mind or what weighs heavy on you. Look, this is what this. I'll be right back, and I'm going to explain some of my gripes right now. It's the best thing I ever did. For starters, this is typically what happens. The government, like I said, the power is derived from wasting money, and you just want to be the one that they waste it on. That's kind of the game. But even your local government can be absolutely horrific. And I'm talking about You got your appraisers, city appraisers or county appraisers. You got people appraising your property at ridiculous amounts. And why? It's a job. That you got to remember. If they just appraised your property and you never fought, everybody, they wouldn't have a job. And so it's always about trying to get as much as they can from the citizen, and unfortunately that's kind of city government in a nutshell. Is basically there is no climbing the ladder, so what they do is they build rungs of the ladder beneath them. In other words, that should be at the ladder and you're in the middle of the ladder. Well, you want to go up. Well, the way you go up is you make more BS. And you create rungs beneath you, so people will be beneath you, and that's kind of how it works. And it's sad because it's very expensive. The make work. I had just recently. It's just so stupid. They're wanting engineering drawings for a gravel road on 5 acres that I own. And it's just such horseshit, and I would never go for it, and I'd be fighting like crazy, except I don't have to pay for it, but the powers, anyways, it's a long story, but it's not fair. It's not fair. I have taxes, I have properties being assessed at a higher value, that I get to pass this on to my tenants, but the problem is, it's not fair. The prices are, they're assessing the values on the property higher than the property's worth. In fact, I just got this from my bookkeeper. And let me see what she wrote here. Tom, here's a list of some of the increases. One building, $1.7 million more. In other words, they've assessed the values, $1.7 million more. That's just on one building. I've got another one, $600,000. I got another one, $700,000 roughly. And I got land I hadn't even looked at, a piece of land. I think land's also. And I got another one that was a gift. They want only $200,000 or $300,000 on that value. But the problem is the interest rates are going up and the property values are going down. And these are the kinds of things that really drive me crazy with government. And like if you ever build, I'm a builder, a developer. I've built lots of properties, houses, buildings, that sort of thing. And used to be able, you go into the city and you bring in your set of plans, you talk it over with the guy at the counter, and got a couple questions, you answer questions, and boom, red stamp, meaning approved. You can go start building, start calling inspectors out, start looking at the foundation and the steel and everything that you're doing in order to build a building. Well, when they get slow, everybody's worried about looking busy. So what do? They take something that they could approve in 10 minutes, and now they turn it into a 1-week process. They say, we're going to have to look at this. We're really running behind. Well, they're not running behind because there's hardly any permits being pulled, but they want to look busy. And so they start to find any kind of flaw that they can to ball you up, so you have to come back again. And this happens during the downturns when you want to just things to go through as smoothly as possible. You want to treat people, builders particularly. Listen, when you're building in a downturn, you're really rolling the dice. Everybody should appreciate the hell out of you because you're putting people to work. You're bringing in more tax dollars, that supports these people that are torturing you. But nobody thinks in those terms. I'm not saying there isn't some helpful people. Listen, I've been in some huge city fights and, lawsuits and everything else, because I get pissed off. I get angry when I get abused or things aren't fair. But there are good people. There are good people down, and they'll say, listen, and I believe me, I've learned so much over the years. There's so many things I know from fighting and fighting, that it's, I appreciate the education I got. And it actually serves the people that are in my mentorship quite well because I know the pitfalls. I know, when to fight and when to just let it go. And these are important lessons, they really are. So let's look at some of these messages. Start here. Hey, Russ, glad you're here. Liam, Barry, always a pleasure to see you in here. 104 years old, man, you're just amazing. Robert Richards, looking for an apartment building. I'm not, but you know what? And that's funny, too, because, Ryan Pineda bought this building. and he created a fund, and on his thumbnail, he's got what looks like an absolute beautiful modern apartment building. But when you go to the actual property, it looks like a barracks. It's terrible, and the forecast that they put on the value on that is just absolutely ridiculous. And I called that out about a year ago, and I feel sorry for anybody that got in that fund. I mean, there's no money there. I mean, in my opinion, whatever that's worth, I know what it's worth. But anyways, where is the majority of your investment properties? Texas is the majority of my properties. I used to have a lot of property in California. I've had properties in Idaho, but the majority of my stuff here is in Texas. And Texas is doing, overall is doing well. I still have the same issues you guys have on a federal level as far as, interest rates going up and that sort of thing. But a lot of times you can be in an area that still does well even in a downturn, just because there's government projects, and there's a whole bunch of green initiative stuff that's been passed, in the last huge omnibus bill that we should have never passed, and it was passed by both parties. It wasn't by one party; both parties did it, and so there's all this green shit that's going to be shoved down everybody's throat that is going to create a lot of make-work jobs and opportunities. And I have some friends that are actually benefiting from that. I don't like it myself personally. How about the Carolinas? I like the Carolinas. I actually have people in my class that are in the Carolinas, and they're doing quite well. And I actually love the Raleigh-Durham area. I went to a wedding there recently, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And I rented one of those scooters. Me and my girlfriend, we kind of doubled up on a scooter. It was kind of a cool picture because I was in a suit and she was in a nice dress, and we were flying down the street, and we got a picture of that. It was kind of fun. So look, let me make sure somebody can. If anybody wants to call in, they can call in. Bear with me 1 second. You're probably going to hear. You're going to hear something here, but at least you'll be able to call in. So here we go. Let me try this.
Thank you for calling Call-In Studios host and call screener line. Please enter your show or meeting number. Enter your 6-digit PIN number. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-In Studio web interface.
All right. So, callers you may call. Let's see. I'm actually curious why I don't see some of the stuff. Oh, there we go. All right. So anybody want to call in, call in. I had a nice call from a guy in California. It was really interesting. Can't remember his name at the moment, but he had a body shop, 2 body shops actually. And, it's a wonderful country we live in. You can build a business. Today I was out at oh man, it was beautiful. I'm going to show you guys this place. This is really pretty. This is it's called Cobra Stone. Let me see if I can find them. It reminded me of being in a winery. This looks like it. This is the actual quarry. And, I mean, what a beautiful property. This doesn't look like it's even updated for what it could be. Anybody? Google drove around a little bit. So, I'm telling you, I think actually, I'll show you some pictures, but they actually have, balusters that are turned out of limestone. Yeah. Well, if you can, let's see. I got to share my screen with you. Apologize. They have, turned limestone posts that are beautiful. In fact, I got a picture. It's really cool because imagine, a solid piece of rock that's turned. It's been turned on a lathe, and you can see the seashells, and you can see, all the, there used to be a giant sea floor out here in Texas. So the stuff that they cut it from is really, really cool. When you start scraping it down and bringing it down, this is part of it here behind me, and just the aggregate and everything. It's just so beautiful. and it's funny if that's actually I got a couple cool quarry pictures I got to share with you. Let me know. It looks like we might be freezing up a little bit. I hope not. But are we okay? Somebody let me know. Because I'm showing that we're froze up here. Can you guys still hear me? Let's start with that, I guess. God, stream health. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can improve this a little bit. Probably not. All right. Well, maybe so. Anyways, so check this out. I actually, picture is fine. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. According to what I'm seeing, it's not so good. Oh well, hey, good. Well, we'll just stick with the sound. So, but anyhow, if this picture comes in, you'll see this quarry behind me, and it's small. But these balusters that are turned from solid limestone, these things are $850 a piece. And those things stack about 2 per foot. So imagine spending $1,600 a foot on just your baluster, and you got a big deck. But really gorgeous stuff. Very cool. Yeah, I don't know why it looks like I'm froze up so much. But let's go back into the sky here. So look, anybody want to call in? We can go look at property. You got something you're concerned about or you want to look at, we can look at it. We can go to LoopNet. We can go to Zillow. We can take a look at anything you want. Let me see here. Get back in the sky. So, all across, Texas, there is just so much. There's so many quarries. These are all, here's more Cobra stone over here. That's interesting. They have a huge quarry. I mean, it really is amazing. And the amount of stone, yeah, here we go. This is looking more like it. Yeah, this is it. Let's see if we can get in here a little bit. Yeah, I guess we can't see it, but they've actually got a new building they've built that is just massive. But all this aggregate you see down here, all this different stone, I mean, it's like a gold mine. They're just cutting it out of the ground, And there's some stone they bring in from Oklahoma, not much. Actually, most everything is out of their own quarries, not necessarily. There's different parts of Texas that have different, for densities, for lack of a better term, of stone. Some of it's very, very hard packed. From the time you start digging stone, you get this stuff on the surface that's kind of broke up like a puzzle. If you know what a puzzle looks like, right? It's kind of cracked, and there might be a foot or two thick, and that gives you kind of a natural edge because it's weathered in between those cracks. And then once they get past that, then you get into solid stone, and I'm talking like 60, 70 feet deep solid. And it's like, I've never been to Greece, but people tell me in Greece, the streets are marble because they got so much. That's what they got. That's the aggregate that they have everywhere. So there's tons of it. And I've been back east. If you go back to New Hampshire and different places, and the curbs are solid granite, because it's the granite state, right? But there's just so much of that aggregate. So it's kind of interesting the different parts of the country you go into. You go in the mountains, you'll see wood. You'll see houses, log houses, because that's primarily what's everywhere. What you build with what you got. So I don't know. Nobody's asking any good questions here, man. I guess I'll have to start it up. Okay, here, real quick. Plug the course. And by the way, I've got a live webinar tomorrow, 7 p.m. tomorrow. You'll be in a Zoom just like this. Also, congratulations, new students that were accepted in. Glad to have you in, and looking forward to seeing you this Saturday. So this is FlipAnythingUSA. Come on in here. Take the mentorship survey. And, I'll have a call with you. If you got to buy the book, you always want to get the book. Always start here. It's the cheapest place you can start. Don't get ripped off. Anyhow, Tom, how do you feel about commercial? Triple net. Listen, I love it. Okay. I mean, we're getting to a point in some areas of the country that you need to do a triple net on your houses, to be quite honest. Not that, a triple net is nice because basically you got to pass the burdens on that be to your tenant, right? They they double your taxes. Well, great. And now your tenant gets a rent increase that you don't partake in the profits. It all goes to the county. And believe me, I'm in that position right now. I'm taking another county to court again. I just settled with one several weeks ago, and now I'm going to be taking them back to court again, it looks like, because of the notices that I got. But I'll be taking a new county to a court now over another matter, because what they've done is they've got a property they've assessed at, I figure it's worth $1.2 million. They've got it assessed at, first they had it assessed at $2.2 million, which was really stupid. And then I told them I'm challenging it, I'm going to take it to court. And then they renegotiated. They knocked it down to 1.9, I think, or maybe 1.7. No, 1.9. But it's still not enough. It's not enough, because that burden I'm passing to the tenant is going to cost them another $1,000 a month, and it's just not fair. So anyways, that's unfortunately, that's part of it. So a triple net is great because, like I say, you got to pass this stuff through to the tenant, but it doesn't mean, you can pass it all to your tenant and then put them out of business, and then you're both, in trouble. So sometimes you got to kind of eat things with your tenant, how you can. But I do like tenants paying for their own water. I like them paying for their own electricity. The power of separate meters is that tenants are much more careful with their usage when they're paying the bill, and they're just better. In other words, I can tell you, I've had tenants that had maybe part of a building that I had maybe 4 to 8 tenants in, and that their business grew so much, pretty soon they had the whole building all to themselves. Well, as soon as they have the whole building to themselves, I say, okay, guess what? Now you get the electricity bill and the water bill. And then all of a sudden, now they're concerned about weather stripping. Hey, the windows, now I have all these weather strip, requests to fix it, to make it more energy efficient, where they didn't care when they weren't paying the bill. Let's see. Bearing picture is fine. Okay, so Liam wants, please define NNN. I think we're talking about net. Let's just look it up and see what the current term is. Let's look up NNN. There was a property we were looking at here. That's your triple net, and that's your triple net, NNN. See, listen, I've been doing this stuff for 42 years, and even I don't know every instance of what people use. So NNN, no nut November. It's no nut November. Anyways, so it's referring to triple net leases, and basically, when I write a lease on my commercial properties, and I'll give you an example. I'll just take you to one of my commercial properties right now. Where do you want to go? Let's go to. What's the address? So this is a property, a shopping center, a strip center, we call them. And now, in this situation, I have one water meter, but I have a restaurant, and I have a bar. Well, the bar is a bar only. They're not food. They serve popcorn. And now all these are all triple net leases that are in here. And I've got like a tattoo shop in here. I've got a vape shop. I've got a dry cleaner. I have a restaurant. I have a bar, and I also have to I have a caterer in there. And so these guys have different equipment within. They have. And I'll get to your question in a second, GP. Anyways, so if you got people there that barely use the water except to flush a toilet, you might put the burden of the water just on one tenant that uses the most. In this case, it's the restaurant. So I'll assess the restaurant 75% of the water bill, 25% to the bar, because they use the most water. And then everybody else, they're not getting a pass necessarily, because this is understood by the tenants what's going on. The other ones know it's included. The two tenants that are paying the burden of the water bill, they understand that they're splitting the entire water bill. But I might make some give some slack on the on their rent. And, we just trade it off. We're all in it together. Listen, you treat your tenants like customers, because that's what they are. And, your success is shared. So, hey, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, something I never asked for enough. Hit that subscribe button. And so let's take a look here. Chris Garrity, and then I'll run on down. First, landlord only has to worry about roof and outer shell. Well, it's all negotiable. There, when people say triple net, there's no set rules. There's sometimes it could be like what I just described. Sometimes it can include a lot more. It can they have to take care of the grounds, or maybe not. Maybe you take care of the grounds. But a general, like if you're going to do a triple net, say with like a Jack in the Box, or the most important thing to those franchise type businesses that are everywhere is they got to have continuity, right? Just like when you go to, when you go to McDonald's or you go into a Starbucks, you want to have the same experience everywhere you go, and it's very important. They got to be consistent. The coffee should taste the same. It should be just as clean. It should smell the same. They should use the same cleaning, stuff. I've got some gals that use. It's called Fabuloso, and a lot of times you'll know it immediately when you smell it when you go into a bathroom that's been cleaned with it. Well, I don't particularly like it, and so like I tell them, hey, no Fabuloso. Use alcohol or vinegar, much cleaner smell. But what Chris is saying is basically what you want is. And that's why we all get the same experience. We go to Kentucky Fried Chicken, all that sort of thing. The parking lot is clean. The asphalt parking lot is always blacked, cleanly striped, because they have a standard that they maintain and keep. And they don't mind. They want the responsibility because they want the control. They don't want to have to call a landlord and say, hey, the parking lot's getting a little worn over here. No, it's already in the numbers. They just fix it. They just fix it and take care of it. Now, when they move in, they're expected to have a roof that's got, at least a 15, 20-year life on it. And if there is an issue with the roof, then that is your responsibility. That's how it normally is. But the triple net lease, it serves both parties because it allows the tenant to do things that they would otherwise have to ask to do, like paint the place, like, whatever, replace the air conditioner. And I have, like on my bar, like in this here, my tenant's responsible for the air conditioning. In most of my buildings, the tenants are responsible. If they have high demand, like when you have a lot of people coming in your building, you're running the AC maybe sometimes 24/7, depending if you're a 24-hour business. You let them pay for all that stuff. And then also, and like I was saying earlier, when the tenants have to pay the utilities, they suddenly become very conservative and are concerned about weather stripping and making sure that everything's energy efficient, where prior they're not so concerned anymore. So let's see. GP wrote, is the market going to crash? Should I stop buying? Listen, you should never stop buying. I don't stop buying. The place I just bought, the last place, second to last, no, okay, look at, let's talk about the last three houses. I bought other stuff too, but I bought the last three houses. Paid $460 for one, I paid $300 for another, I paid $300, $297 for the other one. The one for $297 I sold for $405. Now, if things would have kept going and well like they were and the interest rate would have stayed low, I might have got $500,000 for that house. But I bought it right. I bought it under market anyways. And so that's kind of your hedge. If you want to be a speculator, which I don't like speculating, I don't like to necessarily hold. Now, in the beginning, you can't afford to hold because it can devastate you. You should never risk, the risk-reward factor. We should talk about that. The risk and reward. What is the risk of you holding onto a property when you barely have two nickels to rub together? And I just mean that in the most politest way, but what I'm saying is, if you have all your cash spent into a property and you hold it, you're potentially losing money every month. where if you just simply flipped it and got your cash, you never get hurt taking a profit. My students know. I say it all the time, and I'm quoting a good buddy of mine. He's still alive, thank God, Hank Booker. And he would say, you never get hurt taking a profit. And he's the guy he's probably pushing 85 years old now, and owns a lot of property. I don't even know how much he owns, but I don't even know. He may own more than me. When I started, I owned nothing, but I caught up quickly, and maybe I surpassed him. I don't know. We don't talk about it. But he was a guy that had millions of dollars of property in the 80s when I started and I had nothing. And but it's very, very important that you turn in the beginning. You always want to sell, and you always want to sell until you have enough cash. Listen, if I have a 20% return on everything I own, wonderful, because I own a lot. But if I accepted a 20% return, let's just say, give you an example. You buy something for $100,000, and that's all you got. You pay $100,000, and now you got $20,000 a year. And you go, oh wow, that's fantastic. You have 20% return. That's it's very, very difficult to do. Well, you can do that when you buy a property right. You can get a 20% return on what you paid for it, and when you market to market, maybe it's only a 7% return, meaning that you bought it so far under market that now you can resell it at a 7 cap. And I'll give you an example. Because I want you guys to follow me on this because it's important. Like I bought a property. I'm not going to talk about this one because I'm almost afraid to talk about any of them now because I'm fighting with the county assessors. But I bought a property before that I had a 9.25% return the day I bought it, a 9.25% return. So it was worth about $1.7 million. And what's that mean? I can sell that, or I could at the time. Interest rates have gone up, so it's probably not possible now. But at the time, I could have just resold that property immediately at a 6 cap fairly quickly, because that would have been, that's when interest rates were about 4%. So if I'd have sold it immediately, I could have got $2.4 million for that property that I had just paid $1.6 million or $1.7 million for. So I could have made $700,000 that day. But I'm getting 9.25% on it, and when I refi the property at 4.5%, and now I put $1.2 million in my pocket that I get to play with, and now I owe $1.2 million. Well, I'm still making $100,000 on the part of my money, the $400,000 that I have invested. That is now making a 24.5% return. So on that property, even to this day, I'm getting a 24.5% return on my cash, on the cash that's invested. That's because of the money that I'm making on the borrowed money that I borrowed right. So anyways, Chris, thanks, buddy. Hey, so anybody want to call in? Who else we got here? Oh, let's see, Jian Yang. How much cash flow do you have a month from all your, it's really none of your business, but I'll tell you, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, hundreds of thousands, okay? And I remember the milestones I remember when I had 10,000 a month. So check this out. This book here is full of notes, and these are primarily deals that I made in the 80s. Last deal, in fact, the very last note that I have in here is a deal I made in 1989, and it closed January 1990. And on that deal, I got a note for $295,000 that was paying me 10% interest. That was paying me $2,450 a month, and then I had put out $40,000 out of pocket. And that netted me, on the resale, because I sold it for $520. I paid $140, and I sold it for $520. So on the surface, that sounds like I made $380, but there was some real estate fees. Just say I made $350,000. That can happen. Now, keep in mind that when the economy tanks and goes down, and a lot of those notes that I had went bad. But I was talking about milestone. I had $10,000 a month coming in, just from the interest and principal on those properties that I had bought and resold. And so and it is great. It's wonderful. And a lot of times, one of the advantages that you have out there, if you do concentrate on land, you want to concentrate on properties that are developable. In other words, something like if you're buying lots that a builder can build on, that's a fantastic thing. And you can even buy it. You buy it right, and maybe you get the owner carries a little bit, or maybe you really buy it right and you pay cash for it. Well, you can sell it to a builder and kind of safely give them some time. In other words, let them take a note on it and carry a note, because when he goes to build, the bank is going to require that be paid off. They won't subordinate to a first. In other words, they want to be in the first position, but you're in the first position. And also, by the way, never subordinate to a builder. Never let a builder, in other words, if you don't follow me, when you say subordinate, I mean, don't let him put liens superior to your first. In other words, some people will say, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and let him build," and they subordinate to whatever, a bank loan or anything else. And then when he goes belly up, you're not going to get your money back, okay? If he does a poor job, it's a nightmare. Chris wrote, Tom McKay is the most honest, real deal investor who runs a podcast. Honesty. Thanks. Well, I appreciate that, and I know that's true. Listen, I got nothing to hide. The way I look at myself, just so you guys know, is I made my money in real estate. I didn't make it selling the ideas of making money in real estate. And a lot of these guys that do this stuff, they are like anteaters. They eat up YouTube ants, because there's so many of them, right? I'm saying ants, and I was watching this video, and it was like roosters. When a baby rooster's born, it's dead meat. Nobody wants a rooster. So the roosters, the chickens live because they lay eggs. The roosters, they get thrown into a machine. I mean, thousands of them, and it just strips them of their feathers while they're alive, and then they get fed to alligators in some cases. So you go to the alligator farms, and the alligators are just, these thousands and thousands of these baby roosters are being dumped. They got no hair. They're pink, and the alligators are chomping them down. Well, that's kind of like a fake guru. A fake guru is just, they make their money eating thousands of people at a time. And that's where they get their money. So even when they become rich doing so, they never stop, because that's the food. That you are the food. You are the money. It's like, say, if you're in a room, you wonder if you're wondering who the sucker in the room is, it's probably you. And unfortunately, that's how it is. So, but I teach people how to make money the way I've made money. Like I say, I don't need other people's money, because I've already made it, and I continue to make more money, and I demonstrate it in the videos that I show and in the properties that I own, like this one I'm talking about right now. That kind of experience is the kind you need, and it pays off big time for the people that have been learning from me. And and they're becoming very sharp, smart, and believe me, my class is half the benefit. Now, you get in there because you're in a class of people that are like-minded, that have been making money. Some made money before they even got in the class. I have many realtors that have been doing real estate for 10, 20, 30 years, some of them, and they're in the class, and they're learning about aspects of real estate that they didn't know about. And it's available to everyone. So Kalir wrote, he is a guru. Okay, I'll say a guru. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think, I know who uses that one. A guru, not a guru. Well, I appreciate that. Anyways, how about somebody call in with a problem? Let's talk. People like to hear stuff. Look, we'll jump across the globe here. If you got something, you got property you're interested in, hey, we'll go take a look at it. I can take a look at it from the sky, from Google Earth, or whatever you want to do. I'll tell you something you got to be concerned about in general when you buy properties. You need to know parking requirements, right? One of my students actually wrote me today and sent me a picture of a nice property. And I say nice. A lot of you, when we define a nice property, it looks like there's money there. It's not a pretty property, but it looks like he can make some real money. And I'm talking about you, Eric. That was a nice property you shared with me, by the way. Anyways, and Eric is somebody that's made $1 million since he's been in the class, by the way. In fact, if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you'd know he sent me a picture of his $707,000 check, all profit. So that's the power of real estate. That you can actually make yourself $100,000 or $1 million. Russ is watching here. Maybe he's in and out. Liam's in here. Liam's made over $500,000. Russ has made over $1 million, and and like I say, there's just there's just the whole world's out there for you. You got to be prepared. You know what I mean? And believe me, like I say, the students I got, they're the smartest. Somebody was asking me to just join. He's like, well, what do you require of a student? And it's not money. Believe me, I'm not looking for money. When I give you the pass to come into the class, it's not about money. It's about common sense. It's about, I can get a feel for somebody usually in talking to them. I don't know whether I think they'll be successful or not. Because listen, your success or lack of success reflects on me. I don't want students, I want all my students to make investments. I want them to make money. And that's what I'm talking about. So, all right, I apparently am going to have to, I don't know what I'm going to have to do to get a call here. But don't be shy. Come on, don't be shy. Somebody, let's talk about something. Or tell me what you want to go look at. We'll go look at something. There is some opportunities, by the way. Car washes. I'm going to share this with everybody. Car washes. Let's see if we can find some car wash. I'm going to write car wash, California. Okay, here's a car wash. So you've all seen the old car washes. They look like a big awning, the self-serve type stuff. This one's not a self-serve, but let's take a look at an area like this. And that's a good question. So Jian Yang said, what's my favorite asset class? I love, I'll tell you what, I love everything to a degree. But the asset class that I like to hang on to and hold for income, I like commercial, I like industrial, and flex is kind of like hybrid office industrial. In other words, I have buildings that you could office out of, or you could do light manufacturing. Okay, I like that versatility, by the way, which is becoming more and more important as office is kind of going into more and more people's homes. And then, but there's things you got to worry about, like parking requirements, right? Parking requirements are big, and that's one of the questions I got earlier today. So like industrial property and warehouse, 2 parking spots per 1,000. Residential and office, 4 parking spots per 1,000. Sometimes it's 280 square feet per parking spot, but round off, it's 4 per 1,000. Churches, 8 to 12 per 1,000, right? Because those pews, think about all the pews and all the seats that are in there. It requires a lot of cars. Not everybody's carpooling to church. There's a handful, of course, families and things, but and churches have a very, very tough time. In fact, I might be selling a property to a church. I hope so, because I'm sick of the city that the property sits in. But yeah. That would be it, Jing. I like commercial, industrial, and office. And then like Ben Mala, and I've talked to Ben, and Ben has primarily been commercial and hotels. Now, but don't confuse a hotel. A hotel is a business. It's a business. He has 800 employees. That's a business. And I've never run a hotel. I've never had a hotel. I can see the money in there. And in all honesty, I don't know that I would ever. I don't know that I'd even want to mess with it, to be honest. This ties to me being 61 and not even want to work that hard anymore. And believe me, I'd be richer than I am today if I didn't have so many other interests. I've done a lot of different things besides real estate. I've started other companies. I've made some money. I've lost some money. I got some software stuff that I lost money on. But real estate investing is what's always made me whole and is allowed me to experiment the way that I have. And that's the difference, right? That's one of the things. I could be richer if I didn't have other interest. But real estate, I'll tell you, has never gotten old. It's the only thing that I've ever done that I've never gotten tired of. And it's because it is so lucrative, and it is challenging, and it is fun. Anyways, what else can we talk about? Okay, so I was looking at this. In fact, I got to tell you, if anybody ever heard of Encino Elite, I am still looking for those guys. They robbed my family. My dad, this is when I was a young man. Well, I wasn't even, I was probably an adult. I was an adult. I was probably 19, 20 years old, starting my own company. When Encino Elite, basically they talked my parents into writing a check for $20,000, and they never saw them again. And they were getting into a car wash, some stupid thing. But anyways, but I'd love to find them. They're out of L.A. somewhere. It's they probably changed their name 10, 20 times since that ripoff. But yeah, listen, strip centers. To your point, and I could have just showed you my own, but I love. Listen, the things that, and you got to think more in terms about who can hurt you, right? That's your hedge, right? You always think about how can I get out of this, or you got to have a back out plan or a way to get out of things. Sometimes if you're feeling like you're in a position of risk, my number one hedge is I buy property under market. So if I buy property under market, I can buy in a downturn. I can buy while things are declining. I can buy and sell within that decline. I've done it. I just did it recently. Like I said, last two houses I bought for about $300,000. I sold one for $405. The other one I sold for $369. Now there's some agent money involved. There's some cleanup and fix up involved in those, but I still made 30 probably on one, and 50 on the other. And I would have made twice that if the economy had just stayed, and if the interest rate it would have stayed stable. Also, I look like I'm freezing up here again. Somebody let me know if there's any issues. Jiang wrote, what kind of cash-on-cash return do you like on a deal? Like I just described, Jiang, the last deal would probably be more representative of what I normally do. I bought the property about, I got it for me. Actually, I bought it for a good 30% under market. And because I bought it for, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to worry about it. Thanks, Barry. I appreciate that. A good return to me is 25% on my cash. So if I put out $500,000, I want to see $125,000 a year come back on that cash. Now, it's not that I'm going to make $125,000 a year on a $500,000 purchase. That $500,000 is going to be leveraged into a $2 million purchase where I'm going to borrow 75% of the money that I need to buy that thing. But the $500,000 that I put out to buy the $2 million is what, let's get rid of this call. The $500,000 that I put out to leverage into a $2 million deal, I'm going to get $125,000 a year, on that money. And so that's how that works. And see, if you get 9% on a purchase like that, if you get, like I said, most recently, and if I get 9.25% on 1.6 million, where I'm borrowing money at 4.5%, 5%, then I'm going to get about a 24.8% return. Is it hard to read the phone number on the screen? All right, let's find a spot. Well, geez, there you go. How's that? I'll make it a little bit smaller. There it is. 484-866-7929. 424. See, I can't even read it. 424-866-7929. Somebody wants to call in. That would be great. Just point me in a direction. If there's something you want to hear about, know about, apartment buildings, people wondered why I got rid of my apartment buildings. I don't love my apartment buildings. The apartment buildings, let me put it this way. 30,000 square foot apartment building, 42 bathrooms. 30,000 square foot industrial building, 3 bathrooms, okay? Zero carpeting in an industrial property. I had a kid flush a towel down a toilet and did $21,000 worth of damage to an apartment building because it flooded seven units with feces coming out of the toilet. Pretty miserable. Yeah, that's a good question. Chris wrote, since starting the mentorship, what have you enjoyed most about teaching others? Hey, I tell you, the number one thing is seeing people prosper, to be quite honest. You got to remember, I see young people getting ripped off by fake gurus all the time. I get emails telling me about what they are talking to them. I've interviewed some. You can even look at some of the interviews. And there's nothing worse. To me, it's sinister, right? It's just absolute evil to take money from somebody young that trusts you, right? It's the worst. It's the worst. And that's what people do. And then you get somebody that's jaded, and even the guy's 50 years old that maybe even have several $100,000, but it ain't enough. It ain't enough to put the kids through college and retire. Well, helping people make more money than they had previously ever seen in their life, saving, that is super rewarding, and I mean, there's a bunch of them, seeing Russ, Russ who's in here bought his first commercial property and he had a knockout, he made $1 million, other people, and then like Rich, Rich here, he's in my class. He came in and he just had, listen, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Rich is now, he's following kind of my exact footsteps. He'd already had a little bit of real estate when he started, but he quickly made $1 million cash, realized cash. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rich. And then he parlayed that into the kind of assets that I own. And he's got an industrial building, a nice, big, beautiful 15,000 square, actually 2 buildings. Really great deal, by the way, Rich. Yeah, I'm really impressed with that one. And he got a nice little strip center. He bought a lot of the kinds of properties that I own. And now he's only 18 months into the mentorship, and he's got roughly $150,000 a year coming in from his investments that are pure profit. You know what I mean? He doesn't have hardly any of his own cash invested in any of that. It's the money. It's the taxes that he deferred and threw in. And look what he said. He said, "Hi Tom, I agree. Commercial is for cash flow because look at he's done it that quickly. And that's the thing. You can do it rather quickly. It's not always going to happen this fast, but you'll be amazed when you're in the class and you see somebody like Rich make $1 million, and you see somebody like Russ make over $1 million, see Liam make $500,000, other people like Eric, who I mentioned earlier, make over $1 million. It's not impossible. Now, listen, one of the things you're not supposed to do, this will get you in trouble, the SEC and others, is to make predictions that are ridiculous. In other words, you shouldn't. I can tell you honestly, you can make $1 million in my class in a year and a half, because people have. I can say that, and not just one person, several people. So I have a reasonable basis for telling people that yes, you can be successful. Yes, it's possible you can make $1 million. Now, not just is it possible, but it's happened. It's already happened in my class, and that is something to brag about, and that is why I like to make it clear and let people know. Luis wrote, yeah, so Luis, I guess you didn't follow me. Luis, and you should be skeptical. Luis wrote, but I guess Rich must have had $1 million for the down payment. Yes, he made $1 million on 3 pieces of land while he was in the mentorship. And he took that more than $1 million, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rich. I don't want to I never want to lie. But I know for sure he's made about $1 million. I interviewed him. In fact, here, check it out. Let's just get to that question real quick here, Luis. So I'm going to take you to, I'll just take you to the website real quick. Actually, let me do it here. So this again is my mentorship website, and you're going to see right here, this is Rich. This is Rich, who's sitting here right now, who just, agreed about the commercial. This is Rich. He's in my studio there, interviewed, and he's the guy that he flipped 3 lots. See that? It says flip 3 lots, bought 3 buildings. Watch that, Luis. Watch that, anybody that's interested in making money in real estate. Listen, I understand 95% of the people that sell a course in mentorship are full of crap and they're liars. Most of them. It's unfortunate. It's they say one spoiled apple ruins the whole basket of apples. And so unfortunately people get jaded and feel disgusted and once you get lied to or you're jaded, you're hesitant to jump back in because you just kind of think everybody's a fraud. I thought, God, I trusted that guy. How am I going to trust the next guy? I trusted this person. I'm going to trust the next person and get ripped off. And so it's really sad because what it does is it ends up making you sour on something you shouldn't be sour on. Listen, real estate, the reason it's never gotten old, it's like Christmas. Every time I buy a piece of property, it's like Christmas. I don't worry about buying it. I don't worry about, am I doing the right thing? When you worry that you're doing the right thing or the wrong, you're concerned that you're doing the right thing or wrong thing, you don't know what you're doing. That's terrible. When I go to buy a property, the only thing I'm worried about is it closing. I want it to close. Because as soon as it closes, I can resell it and I can make some money, and like this gentleman here, at this time, he'd made $600,000. In fact, I think he's going to come into the webinar tomorrow, by the way. You guys get in the webinar if you haven't been in, go to get FlipAnythingUSA.com/webinar right up here in the corner. Go to FlipAnythingUSA.com, click right here where you see where it says webinar. Just click on that and that'll take in here, name, address, and email. You can put your phone number if you want me to text you the link. You don't have to put your number in there. I'm not fishing for, your phone number. I could, I don't push anybody. I couldn't care less. If you don't have an interest in real estate, don't even bother. You're never going to succeed if you don't. But if you read the book and you get the passion stirred up in you, then that says it all. And and that's kind of where most people start from. Rich, you got anything else you want to share? Rich is breaking new ground, doing some new stuff. It's really cool because when you're in the mentorship, you'll learn more. I'm learning more. I've opened up a food trailer park, since I started the mentorship, and I share a lot of great stuff about that in the mentorship. I feel protective now of a lot of the stuff that is valuable to know because people are paying me for it, and we just got a great group. You can't go wrong. And again, hit that subscribe button. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. You don't want to lose my channel. That's what happens. Most people stumble into me, sometimes by accident, sometimes because I pick on, one of the fake gurus, or I pick apart something, or sometimes I just, critique another person's video. It doesn't mean I'm necessarily bashing them, just maybe I'm giving some added value. There are some guys out there that do have credibility for sure. But unfortunately there's a bunch that don't. Gian, you know what? Go get into the webinar, because if you get in the webinar, listen, I can adjust the prices. I can give you a discount, and I will give a discount to anybody that I really want in there. In fact, oh God, is it Frank? I got a guy out there, Frank. I really want him in the class. He's a retired cop. He doesn't understand how much respect I have for the police, and I want him in there. And I've done everything I can to try to get him in there. But I think he's afraid to talk to me because I think he's afraid I'm going to talk him into getting in. And it'd be the best thing that could happen to you, by the way, Frank. But there's other people, believe me. I talked to people today, and it's like, you do not see me trying to. I could care less how much money they have in the bank. You don't get to just sign up. You can kind of smell a fake guru, by the way. If they'll take anybody, I'm just telling you, it's laughable. The stuff that is so juvenile. So you have to read the book first, otherwise Tom won't let you in the mentorship. Thank you, Barry. That's true. Because nothing should be a surprise. If you read the book, it's like, I want more of this. I'm not going to have you in the mentorship, and then you're you're going, well, this isn't really what I expected. Well, you didn't read the book. So, and that's never happened, by the way. I've got a tremendous success record. Not just that, but just satisfaction. So, all right, look, I think this might be the time to wrap up. So, look, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central, go in here, go to the webinar. Again, click on that, fill that out. If you're inclined to do so, you can also go back to the front page. You can fill out the mentorship survey. The links are below to do that, by the way. So that you can take the mentorship survey. And this is for you guys that anybody really. It's a necessity to get in the class. You got to take the mentorship survey. It's not very long. It's just maybe 7 questions at the most. And let's see. All right, Gerald Kaba. You know what? Gerald wrote, Tom, I live in Ireland. You think you can help me with your mentorship? Yeah, I know I can. If you can buy real estate over there, I can definitely help you. Listen, I've got, in fact, I got to get his testimonial on here. I got a great guy named Itzvan, and he's actually, I think he's from Ireland, living in Spain, and he's buying property in Spain. And he's dealing with, and he's gotten 2 really great deals, and he's super happy. And, and so think about that. He's from Ireland, dealing with the language barrier, and he's bought 2 properties, and he's done really, really well. And Robert is also another person out of Portugal. Robert, he's killing it. He's done so well, and he's a policeman over there too, by the way. So listen, hit that subscribe button. Number 1, hit the subscribe button. Get into the webinar, or write me if you can't make 7 p.m. on Thursdays. Listen, just write me, Tom at FlipAnythingUSA.com, Tom at FlipAnythingUSA.com, and I will arrange another webinar for a group of you that can only do morning or something like that. Not a big deal. Listen, I've had a webinar I've had 100% of the people that in the webinar sign up for my class. Okay. Sounds pretty impressive, right? But that's because there was only one person that attended the webinar that particular time. But I've had 86%. I've had, believe me, you take time, you're not going to ever see a webinar like mine, because it's filled with honest, sincerity, deals that I personally have made, properties that I still own, properties that I have owned. I show you, I've got a whole 42-year history of properties that I bought, sold, some kept, and I live on these things. And you can too. There's just not a better lifestyle than being a real estate investor. I'm telling you, it's just, it doesn't get old. It's generational wealth you can pass down to your kids. If you do pass it, I urge you to do it like I did. I haven't done it yet, but my kids won't get any of my wealth until the youngest is 40 years old. When the youngest kid is 40 years old, that's when the wealth will pass. And that's only if I'm dead. If I'm still alive, then the wealth won't pass. It'll happen on my own terms after that. But anyways, listen, the fun, and I know not a lot of you don't think it's fun trying to make a living, and I know it can be very tough. I've been spoiled. I have always had money. And not when I was a kid, not when I relied on my parents. My parents weren't as successful as I was, so I couldn't really rely on my parents. I had a great childhood, had a great dad, but he really didn't know how to make money particularly well, and neither did my mother. They did okay later in life after I was an adult, in large part probably because I helped them. Hey, Cherish, good to see you in here. Hey, Cherish, you and Michael are still welcome to pop into a class. I think you still got the link. You can still come, no big deal. Christopher, how do you balance the mentorship and buying and managing properties? Well, I have property managers, and you're thinking, Chris, and this is what a lot of people do. People have preconceived notions and ideals of what it is like to be an investor, or of how much time it takes to do certain things. And listen, there is some work, but really it's about knowledge. You put in the time to get smart, and it'll pay off. It just, look at everything you learn, no matter what. I don't care if you're a carpenter or anything else. You could read a book about carpentry. You don't have the feel of a nail gun in your hand. You've never smashed your thumb with a hammer. Man, that's a fantastic lesson that hopefully you won't do more than once. But it only takes once to smash your finger, or your thumb with a hammer, or nail your finger to a wall, or cut your thumb off, which I have. You see that? See that short thumb? That's table saw. And you probably never, you'll never see my fingers in a table saw again. And I've cut wood all the time. And that's one of the things is it's good to have a skill. I was talking to somebody the other day. I said, listen, kid, you got to get some skills. You're fooling yourself if you don't. You got to get skills. You got to have some basis of being able to make money, support yourself. And the ideal thing is, and so let's talk about this just real quick, because this is important. You want to break away and you want to become a full-time investor, because I know I should have done it earlier. I waited till I was 27 years old and I had $1 million, but that was in 1989, okay? That would be like having $3 million now, and you could do it with $500,000 today, meaning if you had $500,000 in realized investments, you can take that cash and you can just simply, you hold your standards high for making money. But if you do 2 deals a year and make, $150,000, $200,000 with your money, that's a living. You're making a living with just those 2 deals. And now, and you've got cash, but you have to use it. And then when you get to a point like Rich made over $1 million. And he rolled it right into some assets that are giving him a nice return, but now he's broke again. And when I say broke, he's broke, but he's got nice cash flow coming in, right? He's got over $10,000 a month coming in. So that's a good place to be. And he's got the ability to redo the same success that he's already had over and over again. And he's got the comfort of being able to fall back and go, you know what? I mean, let me tell you something. I've been damn near crippled here for the last month. I had a statin I take. You get old, you get cholesterol. You're supposed to take statin. Well, one of the problems that can happen from a statin is it messes with your tendons. I'm in jiu-jitsu. I'm a very active person. And oh man, I started having a problem with my Achilles heels. Like my Achilles heels, started growing elbows. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And so anyway, I got to a doctor that said, you're responding to the statin. But so even though I've been crippled up, and a little bit miserable. I'm fine now, by the way. But, it's like when I'm sick, I tell people, sometimes the biggest smile I can have on my face is when I am absolutely sick as a dog. And it's because I remember going to work sick as a dog. It just because I had employees. I barely work for anybody, by the way. But I'd have to go because I had to direct employees and tell employees what to do. Well, now I run everything from a cell phone. Air conditioner goes out, this goes out. The management companies call me, hey, can we spend $10,000 on an air conditioner? Can we do this? And I just quickly tell them, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this, and that's my way of keeping on top. The checks and balances and making sure that things are being run the way that I want to run them. But it's wonderful to not have to show up for work to make a living. It's, I say it all the time, interest never sleeps, right? These were notes. This is full of notes that people paid me anywhere from, $100 a month to $2,450 per month. Interest never sleeps. Well, guess what? Rents, like interest, they don't sleep. Every day that goes by, somebody owes me more money that they're going to have to pay me at the end of the month. Every day. End of the month, a lot of people dread because the bills are coming. I don't dread the bills. I thrive on the income that's coming at the end of the month. Every month, it's payday. The end of the month is payday for me. And yeah, there's bills that go out and get paid, but the payday is greater than the bills, and that's where you want to be. So anyways, hey, look, thanks for coming in. Michael and Cherish, good to see you in here. Keep with it. And that's a husband and wife team right there. And I'm telling you, I love husband and wife teams. I don't charge double for husband and wife. Husband and wife can come in, and it's wonderful. But you got to make it your own. Don't rely on your partner, your significant other, for fuel. You got to have the desire yourself. Otherwise, if you need that, you're probably not going to do too well. You got to have a passion for it. add a little passion. It makes everything go quicker. So anyways, thanks for watching, everybody, and I will talk to you all soon. And again, hit that subscribe button, and glad to hear it. Cherish, Michael. Awesome. See y'all later. Bye. You want to learn how to make millions of dollars in real estate? I've made tens of millions over my lifetime, and I'm showing people how to do it. Get in my free webinar. I have it every Thursday, 7 p.m.